But, you know, my assistant Renee and I were talking one day about this deal and about how when you're in the pro-life movement, your perspective on things changes. And, you know, one of the first things you think about after you get over the initial shock of something like this is, well, wait a minute. 3,500 other babies were killed that same day, and today, and tomorrow, and on infinitum, in just as horrific ways. And these were just as valuable a baby. And nobody's getting all upset about it. That's just a choice. Well, that guy who went, that little sleazeball who went into that school and shot all those kids, he made a choice too, right? That's, every action people take is a choice. You can't do something that's not a choice. Everything you do is a choice. And so you can't just dismiss abortion and say, oh, that's just a woman's choice, or a woman's right to choose. To choose what? Mm-hmm. And it's murder is what she's choosing. It's murder that this guy chose. But all of a sudden now, if you go out and you make this point in public, as some people have, many people have, you are viciously attacked. And you're accused of trying to turn this into a political issue. It's not a political issue. It's a human rights issue. Mm-hmm. Right. And
it's logically consistent issue.
It's completely consistent.
Linear thinking.
Now, one person who has really taken a lot of hits over this is a person that most of our audience is probably very familiar with. If you remember watching Saturday Night Live back in the 1980s, she was as big a star as there was in the country at the time. Victoria Jackson was she played this kind of ditzy blonde on there, and they had her on the news with Dennis Miller and all this kind of thing. And I mean, she was hilarious, and she had a really large following, including me. And
me too.
She came out and made this very point, that why are we so bent out of shape about these babies, but these 3,500 babies over here, we just dismiss as a choice. And Victoria is joining us right now from Miami, Florida. Hello, Victoria.
Hi, I'm so honored to be on your panel with you experts and fighters for life. I'm thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Listen, when you started saying these things out in public, tweeting that there was an analogy between the murder of these children and the murder of the children in these abortion mills, what happened to you?
Oh my, well, I got a lot of hate mail, a lot of hate speech. I got a lot of, things on my Facebook and everywhere that said horrible words, curse words. It seems like the pro-abortion people use a lot of bad language.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And these are the tolerant people in our culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I was just, I was deeply grieving like everyone else. Like you said, I can't wrap my mind around it. I can't, I was in my living room and I was thinking, if I was the parent, how could I deal with this? But, I know parents whose children have cancer, and I try to think, how do they deal with that? How do you not lose your love for God when you see your child in chemo, And so, I was thinking, how do these parents, and I was thinking of the children. I thought, what could they have been thinking when it was happening, and the ones who survived, the ones who died? I mean, I can't comprehend the level of evil. Right? But, I mean, usually when I watch the news, I can't comprehend the level of evil anyway.
Right.
So this was like, like you said, my brain couldn't go that far. And so I was so sad, and I'm watching the president talking, and he's at the school, and he starts to be dramatic and, in his speech, and he wipes the tear that I couldn't see. And I was watching him, and he said, these children will never see their birthdays, weddings, or their kids of their own. And when he said that phrase, my mind snapped. And I was like, what a big hypocrite you are.
Yes.
The children who are being aborted every day, they're not going to see birthdays, weddings, or children of their own. And by the way, mister, you fought passionately for partial birth abortion, which is if the baby survives an abortion, murder it. And so if you think it's okay to murder a newborn baby who's 10 minutes, 20 minutes old, why can't you murder a 1-month-old, a 1-year-old, a 5-year-old? It's the epitome of hypocrisy to cry a tear because the child is 5 when they got murdered. What about when they were 1 hour old and they got murdered? I don't see the difference.
You don't see the difference, Victoria, because there isn't one.
There is none. There is none. That's right. You know, Victoria, I've been getting the same kind of reaction, and people will say, oh, but you're trivializing the murder of these children. No, we're not. The problem is everyone else is trivializing the murder of the unborn, number one. And if you do that, if you say the unborn can be killed, then you're the one who's trivializing the murder of these other children. Because if it's okay to murder children in one circumstance, you've devalued the life of them all.
Well, the thing that's so aggravating to me about this is that when we talk about this, they say, oh, you're politicizing this event for your own political agenda. And now all the godless left is out pushing gun control and using this as a justification for it. Let me tell you something. Whether you're talking about this event or Columbine or any of the others that we've had, the problem is not what's in the hands of these people. It's what's in the hearts of these people.
That's right. Yes.
And you cannot expect these people to have a respect for human life when they know good and well that abortion is legal and we're butchering 3,500 babies a day. What's 20 more?
And Victoria,
if it'll make you famous, what's 20 more?
And Victoria's 100% right. Obama was being the biggest hypocrite that ever walked on the face of this earth.
Right.
Because it's his policies that are making sure this continues to happen. He campaigned to make sure that it continues to happen every single day. And she's 100% right. These abortionists go in there, they knock off a kindergarten class every time they open their doors.
Right.
And nobody's saying anything about it. What they need to do is start posting TV cameras out in front of the abortion clinic, let the abortion come out and explain how many babies he just killed.
Right.
That's right.
Well, you're kind of touching on something I've advocated for years. We ought to have an abortion channel that's required by federal law to be carried by every cable system in the country, and every abortion that's done should be videoed, and American people are required a certain number of hours a month to go in there and watch it. And I guarantee if that were to happen, the average abortionist wouldn't be any safer walking the streets of any city in the United States than this kid would have been had he survived and been let loose and walked the streets.
Amen.
And Victoria, you exactly identified the hypocrisy of Obama in that these 6-year-old kids, these 10-year-old kids and 12-year-old kids, 10 to 12 years before, when they were being born, he would have been fine with letting them die in a soiled utility room or to be half born and then killed by partial birth abortion. And I really applaud you for taking the stand that you did, because I know that you are well known, and I know how vicious the other side can get, and I know you know that, and still you took that stand, and I appreciate you very much.
Oh, thank you. You know what? So I wrote an article, and I found the YouTuber Jill Stanek, and I was so happy for it because I've never seen anyone talk about the actual truth of what happens in there, and I'm 53, and my whole life I've never known anyone who had an abortion, and I've never heard anyone talking about it.
Wow.
I don't know. Someone told me that's because people who do it don't really talk about it.
Right.
And they said, you probably know a lot of people, they just don't talk about it.
Right. Yep.
But I found the video of Jill, and she was telling the truth about holding a baby as it died in a hospital. And so I put it in my article, and I'm going to send it to you. But, the funny thing is, it's like we're way more sensitive about children than they are, and they're accusing me of being insensitive about Newtown, Connecticut. I'm like, are you kidding me? I am way more sensitive about the pain children suffer than you. I mean, how can you accuse me? And just like you said, it doesn't lessen my grief for Newtown to bring up the point that other babies are being murdered.
That's right.
Yeah, Mark, right when this happened, I tweeted, I'm sad and outraged about what just happened. And then I said, I'm sad and outraged 200 times over every single day at what's happening to the unborn. I mean, that's what, there are some of us, we here representing them, who have this burden every day. And that makes the difference.
Well, the hypocrisy of these people, and it's not just Obama. I mean, he may be the hypocrisy in chief, but hypocrite in chief. But I saw some tweets out there, and I think some of them were directed at Victoria, and she's exactly right. These people are nasty and just unbelievably crude and rude. And anyway, we don't even talk about that. But I saw some tweets, I think they were directed at her, and they called her some names we can't use here, but saying, look, unless you're willing to adopt all those babies that you're worried about, that are going to be killed, then you got no reason to speak out on this. Well, let me ask you this. And do we say that about the people who are speaking out against this shooting and say, look, unless you're willing to adopt all the children in this country who might be in a situation where they might be killed like that, then you've got no right to speak out.
Yeah.
It is just absolutely the most mindless, illogical, idiotic statements that come from these people, but they have to because they're defending something that is mindless, idiotic, and stupid. There's no other way to defend it other than to do what they do.
Let me tell you something. I went to the DNC, the Democrat National Convention, to do journalistic stories on it. I was terrified because I feel the opposite of them on almost every issue. But I thought, well, that's journalism. I don't want to only preach to the choir or talk to the choir. I want to hear what the other side says and maybe try to convince them, what the truth is. So I'm up and down the street, and I said to a Democratic lady, are you a Christian? And she's like, yes. And I said, well, how can you vote for Obama when he's pro-partial birth abortion, pro-abortion? And she said, it's my body. I can do what I want. And so as she starts yelling at me, it's my body, it's my body. And I go, but the DNA of the baby is different than yours. It's its own DNA. It's not your DNA. And she keeps yelling at me. And I look over, and this man is holding a huge picture of an aborted fetus's child's head. And it was graphic, and I've never looked at them before. Once I was doing an article, and I Googled abortion, and I saw a picture, and I'll never get it out of my head. But he had this huge picture, like 10 feet tall and wide, and nobody was looking at it. And I went over and I said, I'm so proud of you, because obviously you're pro-life, and you're holding this picture in the middle of hell here where all these people are passionately fighting to kill babies. It's like they're not even embarrassed. It's like their life's cause, murder, And I said, why are you doing this? And he said, they can't look at it, but they can do it. And I just want to show them what it really is. Right. So I took a picture of it, and I put it in my article where I showed the YouTube of Jill Stanek. And basically, it's a child's head, and it's in those tongs or whatever, those Dr. Tool thing. And it's very obviously murder there. So I just wanted...
The disconnect from normal human logic is it's almost impossible to respond to in a lot of times because it's just so illogical. There's no other way to describe it.
People who are linear thinkers say that murdering innocent children is an unspeakable evil.
Right.
And we will attempt all the days of our life to stop that evil.
Right.
That's a linear, consistent argument, and we make that. The other side does not.
Well, we're out of time for the segment, but Victoria, I really want to thank you for what you've done, for speaking out, and I know that it cost you a lot more to do that sort of thing because of the environment that you live in than it cost us. But so I want to applaud your courageous actions there, and maybe we'll have you back on a future show. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for what you're doing. God bless you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She pretty much nails it. I mean,
it's beautiful.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah. Oh,
we need her voice.
Yes, we certainly do, and it sounds like we've got it. Anyway, we'll be right back with a very special guest and details on our latest project. Now, I want to warn you, what we're going to be showing you here in the next segment is very graphic and probably not suitable for all audiences, and you want to make some decisions about your children, or if you're particularly squeamish or whatever. Anyway, it's going to be unpleasant to watch, but it's something that we all have to see. It's somewhat like the graphic images of the dead babies. No one wants to see that. I certainly don't want to see it, but it's something that we have to do. And this next segment will be something similar to that. So anyway, we'll be back in just a moment. Not long ago, I was on a talk show when a pro-abortion caller asked me if I accepted Barack Obama's claim to be a Christian. When I said absolutely not, she launched into this hysterical tirade against me, saying that I was judgmental and that I am not the one who gets to decide who's a Christian and who is not. This is typical pro-abortion double talk. Look, if someone points to a camel and calls it a turtle, those who challenge them on it are not contending that they get to decide which creatures are camels and which are turtles. They are simply saying that they can distinguish one from the other. In the same way, people like Obama and Kathleen Sebelius and Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and every other heretic on earth can proclaim themselves Christians for as long and as loud as they wish. But their actions expose them as frauds. Whether these people like it or not, there is no such thing as a Christian who supports legalized abortion. This incident on the radio reminded me of a documentary I saw several years ago about the explosion of pornography in America. At one point, the host was interviewing a man who is one of the largest producers of hardcore pornography in the world, and sitting beside him was his biggest star. She was a beautiful young woman who laughingly bragged about having been in hundreds of movies that even she described as extremely raunchy. Then, a carefully selected clip from one of her films was shown. I won't describe what she was doing, but I will tell you that the only thing she was wearing was a gold cross around her neck. The host then asked her whether the cross meant that she considered herself a Christian, and if so, how she reconciled that with her career. Her boss then chimed in and opened his shirt to reveal that he too was wearing a gold cross around his neck. Both then explained that they keep their professional lives separate from their religious beliefs, and that their involvement with porn doesn't mean they can't be good Christians. In other words, they see their relationship to God as unrelated to how they live their lives. And that is precisely how someone can fool themselves into believing that they can be a pro-choice Christian. The fact is, those people are no different than a porn star with a cross dangling around her neck. Welcome back. We've got a very difficult segment to deal with this time. And again, I want to warn you if there's people that are squeamish or children, you may want to